What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. And once again, I am joined by Chris from Nerdcrawler. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back. Really
My
excited to
pleasure,
catch
man.
up. Yeah.
Well over 40 episodes later.
Yeah.
You were
Congratulations on hitting 50.
Thank you. You were
Yeah.
episode 9.
I feel very fortunate to be a small part of the history. And yeah, again, like I said congratulations, but I don't want to minimize it. Like consistency is really hard in this game. And
It
so
really
congratulations on getting 50 out and it's still going.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it really is. That consistency is king, really. I mean, just the fact that I've been able to somehow put out an episode a week and all
Yeah.
that boggles my mind, despite,
Yeah.
some of the technical difficulties we were just talking about before we popped on here.
Yeah. And just life stuff too. Like people get sick, family emergencies happen, but again, being consistent is like the hardest part and congrats on staying focused.
Thanks, buddy. So you've had a lot going on in the interim here since that first recording. When we first got on here, I mean, Nerdcrawler was still pretty much in its infancy.
When did we do that?
That's
Can you
been
remember?
over 9 months ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
in the early stages because that's when you would, and I've always found this like so cool about you. You would always put out the little polls on Instagram and stuff and ask like, what feature should I add next? And like literally you would message back and be like, on it. I'm doing it
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody would make a good suggestion, you were tweaking, modifying, listening to the feedback and improving the site daily almost.
Yeah. I think if there's any lesson I can give to anybody listening who's running a business, it's like just do that. Like ask your customers what they want and then go do it. And I
Yeah.
think, we'll probably get more to it, but I was at C2E2 this weekend working with Essential Sequential and Comic Sketch Art on some really awesome streams and partnerships and stuff. And the overwhelming feedback for both of them who have done quite well is like, just listen to your customers, talk to them,
Yeah.
you know?
And actually communicate with them, right?
Yeah.
Like actually, it's a different type of business, but it's still business. I mean,
Hmm.
with my jujitsu academy,
Hmm.
it's funny how many people the feedback I get is, wow, you answered your phone, or wow, you called me back right away, or texted me back right away. I called four other gyms and nobody has responded, and that's been several days.
Yeah. That's how I've got the daycare for our son and now our daughter who loves it. But yeah, in this business, I think in any business, but yeah, in this one in particular, where like you're starting out, starting a podcast, starting a marketplace, you live and die by like those early people who say like, oh, like James was legit, Chris was really helpful, like all those
Right.
little like stars. Like we now have like over 50 5-star reviews like that you can see at nerdcaller.com/reviews, and each one is like a badge of honor because it's like you actually did something for someone and they
Yeah.
went out of their way to say, yep, it's legit.
Yeah, and you're getting feedback like that and awesome reviews like that, not just from your average Joes like me, but people like Frank Cho and huge superstar artists and creators to the level with which we'll never be are
Yeah.
giving you props on your site and what you're doing there. So you must be doing something right.
Yeah. I thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a wild journey to go from like pure fan and then also like being able to like talk to them and DM them on occasion. But I will say I got a David Finch commission this weekend at C2E2. Waited in line like everybody else. The first thing
Good.
that I did, ran to the table. So yeah. But yeah, I think to your point of like doing it right, it comes back to like just do right by people. Like whether they are like a regular person or an Arthur Adams or, an art germ, they're still just regular people who want to be treated nicely and heard and listened, and just do that stuff. I think you go pretty far.
Definitely. Well, I think it's important that we don't assume that everyone has listened to
Yep.
the first time you were on here. So, why don't you give everybody just your basic little breakdown of what Nerdcrawler is and what you do there?
Yeah. So Nerdcrawler is a auction marketplace that allows top verified comic creators, reps, and sellers to sell rare, like one of one or one of few products. So what does that mean? It means things like comic sketches, commissions, signed comics, published original art, and then like really nice like prints and things like that. So think of it like a very curated eBay for like the comic space with powered by comic creators and amazing reps. Um, I think some numbers that I'm comfortable sharing, like we've helped 180 plus sellers since we started in 2024, and we've helped them earn over $1 million in sales. And so it's been wild, but it feels really fun.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me about Nerdcrawler is the fact that you're going out of your way to make this thing that really helps the artists get their work out there as well. You know, I've come to find out that a lot of artists are kind of reclusive, and some of them don't like going to cons and sitting there doing sketches in
Yeah.
front of people and slaving away at commissions late into the night. So the fact that they now have this platform to be able to get on and sell some of their pieces has to be a great help for them. And I know there's multiple layers to it to where it makes a little bit more sense for them to go through Nerdcrawler versus eBay or some of these
Mhm.
other platforms.
Yeah. On the last note about like it makes more sense. Yeah, I think where we really have found success for our community of sellers is it's just easier to make a listing. The fees are lower. It's a curated community of like really serious buyers, and then our escrow service, right? So all of the sales that go through the Nerdcrawler platform go through our escrow service, where we hold the funds until the buyer receives payment, or sorry, when the buyer receives the piece. At which point, when the buyer confirms that it's all good, we send the money to the seller. And actually, it has helped both sides, where sellers can now ship knowing that their money is safe, and like a fraudulent buyer isn't going to like immediately pull the funds back, because like we've had situations where I fought for a seller and was able to, mediate the situation. And then on the buyer side too, it helps them know that like, great, I'm buying a $8,000 piece. I know that the money is safe, and then I can confirm that I receive it and all that. Because I remember when I was starting out, yeah, I learned a lot more about the email community than I ever thought I would. And one of the things I learned starting out is like people are super sketch. And like
Yeah.
one person posted a print of Charles Schultz, like a legendary, Peanuts comic, and priced it at $80,000, knowing that it was a print, not an original.
Yep.
But some people don't know. And so they just picked it up, and it's like, that's super fraudulent. And
Yeah.
so by verifying buyers and sellers and then having the escrow service, it just makes everybody safer. And then your first point about just helping artists. Yeah, I think since we last talked, there's just been so many fun stories of artists who I would call them like the mid tier, which is like, hey, I'm doing upper deck cards. I'm maybe starting out, getting a couple of pages in a Marvel DC image book, but I'm not like an Arthur Adams or a Dello or something like that. Those artists have been so fun to help. Like there was one, he's an artist in Brazil named Alexander So, and he messaged me and he was just like, dude, you changed my life, man. Like I could do something for my family now that I otherwise couldn't, because of, this platform. And so check his work out. His last name is TSO, and I think you probably find him on Instagram. But yeah, it's just stories like that where you're helping real people like pay their bills or pay for a medical expense or help their families and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. Going back to the darker underbelly of
Yeah.
eBay sellers, it's interesting that we were talking, my wife and I were talking yesterday about how the fact that attention spans seem to be getting shorter and
Yep.
people don't read and things need to be in a very short video for the retention to be there. Because we deal with it in our business too. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, where are you located? It's like, that's like the first thing on the website.
Yeah.
I had somebody in Brazil reach out
Hmm.
to me wanting to know when they could come to practice, and they asked where we were located. They hadn't seen we were in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you
Stuff
gotta,
like that,
yeah,
you
hop on a
know.
plane. Yeah.
But when it comes, no, they were literally in Brazil. They thought our
Jesus.
school was in Brazil. They didn't
Oh my
read
gosh.
two
Yeah.
sentences down.
That's crazy.
But that happens all the time too, where
Yeah.
just the information is presented, but people don't read.
Hmm.
And when it comes to these sellers, sometimes, especially with eBay, it's like you were saying, they'll try to sell off a print or something, and it'll be in there, like
Yeah.
buried in the description, three paragraphs down that, hey,
Yep.
this is a print, not an original, but they put that crazy price tag. I've seen people do that with the facsimile books.
Yep.
They'll have a 9.8 giant size X-Men
Yep.
for, hundred and some
Yeah.
thousand. And then you'll go down and it's like, oh, this is the facsimile from this year.
Oh yeah.
But they'll put that just hoping they snag somebody,
Yeah. I was at a convention a couple weeks ago, and it happens in person too. Like I was flipping through long boxes and I saw Uncanny X-Men 266 just like in the bag in the long box, priced at like, $50.
You
And I was like,
thought
is
you
this a
scored a
deal?
find. Yeah.
But that it's priced just perfectly, right? Where like it feels like a deal, but then I was like, no, the label is wrong. The label is like the modern pricing label. They didn't do that in like the 90s or whatever. But yeah, I think it's tricky, right? Because I recognize like people are trying to make a buck, everything's expensive, but also we should try to do right by people. It goes back to what we said earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make a thriving business? Like, you do right by your customers, right? Like, God forbid somebody buys that facsimile code. Someone's like, score, I got 266 for $50. And they're like, no, that's like a
Yeah.
$4 book. Yeah.
So staying on the financial note, how
Yeah.
appropriate. We're recording on tax day.
Yeah.
We're recording on April 15th here. The
Exactly.
episode will come out a few episodes from now. But staying on the financial topic, in our conversation before and how you got started on all this, you're a tech guy, like
Mhm.
you're a programming and coding and you come from that background. And now we're throwing around words like escrow and ensuring that thousands of dollars are protected. How much did your stress level scale when you had to figure all that out and make sure to do it right and to be able to provide that assurance to people?
Yeah. A lot. A lot.
I'm guessing you did a ton of research and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot. And I think what I realized though is like, again, it goes back to like what we said in the jump, which was like you do right by your customers. And what I saw like in our Facebook groups around original art collecting or sketches and things like that is you just see like bad actors, right? You see on both sides like people just aren't doing it right. And so I thought, well, if this platform is going to take a percentage of the transaction because I have to pay my bills and grow and things like that, you should still provide a service, right? And so the service was like, well, people seem to not get paid or people don't seem to get the art. So what if we like made a system where like we can act as a third party and hold the funds? And that seemed to be something that people appreciated. And I think you kind of just figure it out as best you can. And yeah, you get lawyers and all that kind of stuff too.
yeah,
But if you believe in it enough, right, you go for it. And I'll tell you, like, it I think it goes like, and more advice I can give to folks is if you're going to build something that you really love because this stuff is so hard and it's very stressful. And it helps though when like you change people's lives or the people you get to hang out with are like the heroes that read their books in high school. It makes it all worth it. So it makes those harder days worth it.
yeah. It really
Yeah.
goes back to that it's kind of a cliche thing, or it's become a cliche thing where it's like, and I don't think there's such a thing as, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your
Sure.
life, because there very much is a element of work involved,
Yeah.
especially in the business side of things. But it really is true when you're doing something you're passionate about. I think there's something that where it really resonates and people can sense the authenticity there, and the fact
Yeah.
that you're really, you're not only providing a service, but it's also something that you have a passion for, and it's something that you love.
Yeah. I 100% agreed. Like we were, Nerdcrawler was part of a startup accelerator called Launch, where I got to like work with other founders and scale this business and learn about how to operate one. And it was so clear though that like I was building the thing that I really loved because overwhelmingly when we pitched investors, it was like it's so clearly like you're the guy for this, right? Like other businesses may be unclear, like, oh, most folks don't necessarily fall in love with software as a service for taxes, right? Like no one like when they were 6 years old was like, oh, I watched a great tax program and I'm gonna go build that. But like
Yeah.
I watched X-Men as a kid, right? And I built a business where I could like do that. And when you talk to folks, it's like, to your point, the authenticity is so real, right? Like I look at your background and like I see the Spinner Rats and I see your Young Bloods and I see the Punisher and stuff, and it's like, if you were like running a podcast, this is the podcast for you, right? If you were running some, I don't know, medical insurance podcast, I'd probably be
Yeah,
like, your background doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
exactly.
So it's all that. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I could use AI and change it to anything, couldn't I?
Right.
I've seen people
Right.
doing that now where they have their studio, like they'll be in a cramped
Yeah.
little studio, but they've got everything masked out and you're like, how did they get those amazing collectibles and that, screen-worn Darth Vader suit? And then you're like, "Oh, wait, no, that's an AI background."
Yeah. It's getting weird. We're living in a really weird time for
Yeah, we
sure.
really are. And
Yeah.
we could spend a whole like podcast on that because there's just so many so much nuance and so many facets to the AI topic and how it's affecting the things that we love, art, comics, all these different things, right? So let's go to a little gear change here into your C2E2 experience here
Sure.
recently. And you did some live streaming with artists and all sorts of stuff that requires the technological gods to be on your side when you're dealing with streaming and internet connections, especially if you're at like a convention center or something like that. They don't always have like the best internet. I know when I
No.
go and I'm trying to pay an artist and they're using their Stripe or whatever on their
Yep.
phone, like, oh, the Wi-Fi keeps going out. Sorry.
Yeah.
So how did that all play out? Like, first of all, how did that come together?
Yeah.
And then how did it work out, man?
Yeah. So for context, I started Nerdcrawler as an auction marketplace to help Frank Cho, sell sketch covers direct to consumers or direct to fans, and then eventually continue to expand to like buying out and all these other things. But as we continue to talk to the community, they were like, we just want more ways to connect with the creators that we love, even if we can't be there in person, right? And connection is like, yes, you can own the sketch cover, but it's also a conversation, a chat, advice, whatever. And so we thought, like, let's go try to build this live stream shopping product or platform inside of Nerdcrawler. And so we did our first one at Emerald City Comic Con with Comic Sketch Art Europe and Mirka Andolfo. Shout out to Davide as well for just being
Now,
a great partner. Yeah.
I'm gonna apologize for interrupting you,
Yeah. All good.
but you weren't there, were you?
I was.
Oh my God,
Were you
dude.
at Emerald City?
How did we
Well,
not
I was.
know? I know,
So
I'm sure you were probably busy,
I
but
was
I
in one
didn't.
spot the whole time.
Okay. If I would have caught the fact that you were there, I would have
Yeah.
come and said hi.
Oh, yeah.
Um, my back was super out and I was
Oof.
limping. So I would have been
Yeah.
easy to spot. I was the giant 6'5", 300 and
Yeah.
20-pound dude gimping around like he was 90. But
Yeah.
yeah, that sucks, man.
Ah,
When I saw that Nerdcrawler was doing something, I should have done more homework and reached out and asked
ah.
you if you were gonna be there.
Yeah. All good. Yeah. And the reality was I lived at that 6 foot table next to Mark Russell and Mirka Andolfo because it was like the first one, right? So we were like loading up her products, fixing bugs, all that kind of stuff. And then we go, we went live and didn't work, right? The partner that we had used to handle our multi-stream just didn't work. We then, you know, tried to go live with another option, but then no audio. Eventually, 40 minutes in, thankfully, America is a wonderful person and was patient, and we went live, and fans loved it, and we did well, right? So for C2E2, it was like, okay, fix all the bugs and then do it again. And so we partnered with Essential Sequential, Jason, who is amazing, and we were able to get Arthur Adams and David Finch, two of my personal favorites. And then we worked with Comic Sketch Art. Shout out to Lisi and Doug Peterson and Mike for that. And we were able to get Frank Cho on Saturday. And so the purpose, though, is like, how do we just bring some of that convention magic to people's homes, right? And thankfully, C2E2 had working internet. Like, it's
Nice.
all of the cons, it was actually one of the few. But like when you start the day and it's empty, for those that are very technical, right? Like the download rates were like 260 up, 260 down. It was amazing, right? So the Arthur Adams one was great. Like that one weren't great. And then by 3 p.m. on Friday when we did the David Finch one, it's like now you're at like 20 up, 20 down. Like it's starting to degrade.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people. And so we went live and like David was awesome and he drew a Batman and a Spider-Man. and we auctioned those off in a remark. But like we started getting feedback of like, hey, the quality's starting to degrade. And like with Frank's, that was at 3 p.m. So I knew going into it, like it's going to be the same issue. Overall, it was fine, but we got the same feedback, like it's degrading. And so that's like all the technical detail. My short, summary of the experience is like, did we get more fans to experience some of their favorite creators to get to chat with them? Yep. And that was great. And we're going to continue to invest in this experience. Will we start to do more things from people's homes? Probably, because it's great. And then we'll just continue to find solutions for the convention experience because, they're all in one place. So you do want to do fun stuff there and you can see them live and talk with them. But I have some ideas for like at home stuff in the future. And then,
Yeah.
well, end with too is like our live stream platform and multi-stream platform isn't just for Nerdcaller to use. We very much want it to be a way for like all creators to just go live. We're talking with a few others that I'll probably announce soon. But the idea is if you're a seller, if you're a streamer, you already probably have a YouTube channel, an Instagram, a Twitch. What makes our Nerdcrawler live stream experience a little bit unique is that we just integrate with the existing tools that you use so you can multi-stream. So we're using Squadcast. I'm pretty sure you can add things like RTMP keys. We're also, OBS, StreamYard, whatever. They all take RTMP keys to broadcast live. And so you could just add Nerdcrawler as another source and key so you can simul broadcast to our platform, but then you can also start selling on your store when you do go live. And so, or your Nerdcrawler
That's
store.
awesome. Yeah. So I was going to ask you about that if you had plans of launching this internally, separate from cons, like have this be something available to the artists and everything on there. That's really cool.
Yep. Yeah, and they can start it now if you're approved for auctions. And if you have any questions about it, definitely ping us, chris@nerdcrawler.com. And we're here to help. But yeah, the idea is how do we, fans want more ways to connect with their favorite creators, but creators already have audiences on other places, but they do need a way to kind of like sell books at the same time or, easily capture payment for auctioning off a live drawing. And so we thought, hey, I think Nerdcrawler can help make this easier as well. Yeah.
Now, will they have an ability, or I'm sure probably knowing you, this functionality is in the back of your head, but will people have the ability to like, similar to Whatnot, how they can put something up and be like, starting now,
Yep.
Swipe to bid, is that functionality already there or is that
Correct.
something being planned?
It's already there. Yeah. So
Nice.
That's how we were able to live auction the Arthur Adams remark. He did a Psylocke and blanking on the other one. It was a very busy week. I know David did Batman and Spider-Man. But yeah. So you can swipe to bid, all that kind of stuff, go live, set the timer. The reality is, it's built with love from the advice of the best sellers I could work with, which are like Comic Sketch Art and Essential Sequential.
Yeah.
They were the two that just have continued to be huge supporters and giving me feedback on like what they're looking for. And my belief is like, hey, if I build something for them, chances are other sellers will want it too. And so that's kind of how we got here. Like one of the things that they had asked for was like, when we're live, you need to be able to make new listings live in the moment. And so that was a big feature that we had made, and then that's available already too.
Yeah. Now, was ECC the first con that you did that at?
Yeah.
God, dang it, I missed out. Could have been part of history with you.
Again, like
so you did ECC and C2E2 so far?
Correct. Those are the only two that we've done.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we've done some like at-home shows. Me and my buddy Matt Battaglia, who I work with at Comixology, we're kind of like hosting shows like when we can, like once a week. So we've had like Brandon Graham, who's done like Prophet and King City and Moonray. And then we recently had Kevin Mellon, and we're just starting to get more folks just like through the pipeline. And just one, it's like verify the product works so that more sellers can use it at their own home. But also just let's get fans more ways to connect with these creators. So like you could, simul stream if you wanted to Nerdcrawler and sell merch or whatever at the same time.
Might have to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
We might have to brainstorm some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll be letting go of any of my art though. My as far as my collection, my own personal art, yeah, maybe I'll do something on there. It's getting to a semi decent-ish level, so maybe one day. Yeah. But Yeah, my originals. I've had a few people reach out to me on Nerdcrawler about my gallery and about
Oh
some of
yeah.
the Invincible pages I
Oh yeah,
own.
yeah.
And it's just so hard for me to fathom like getting rid of any of those. Like
Oh yeah.
I just traded my friend Justin Mason for Marvel. You know, he's doing the new Thing series and
Oh
stuff.
nice.
He did Sentinels. He's done a ton of great work for Marvel already in it early in his career, and Spider Punk and all of
Hmm.
that. And I just traded him. I had a Haunt double page spread, so it was oddly over Greg Capullo's breakdowns,
Wow.
and it was. I love Justin, so that's the reason that happened. Otherwise, I'd still be holding on to it.
Yeah.
But he traded me one of his pages from when he did Spider Punk. It's the
Mhm.
first appearance of that version of the Rhino, and
Oh
then
cool.
it's on my table back here behind me.
Yeah.
I might show you after the stream. But and then there's a Spawn and Haunt cover he did when McFarlane
Oh.
ran that the Spawnuary
Yeah.
cover contest. It was Justin's submission to that. And it's how he didn't win, dude. It's how an AI cover won, even though that was against the rules,
Yeah.
and Justin didn't win. I will never know.
But they booted that AI cover, right?
I believe they did, but they never publicly made any kind of statement about what happened or any of that.
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
cover that they did say they're releasing was not that one. It
Hmm.
was one that was an actual artist,
Okay.
thankfully, like
Good.
somebody who actually physically did the artwork, but not prompted. You know, they didn't prompt
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
unless they're using something we can't detect right now, because we're getting to that point. It's getting harder and harder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But um, congrats on the pickups though. I mean, I think that's one of the more fun things about this hobby is like, yeah, getting to see what folks
Yeah.
add to their collections and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy. They're amazing pages, and I think if there's anybody that might get one of my Invincible originals, it might be Justin
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
another trade because his work is amazing. Maybe I'll be able to score one of these Thing pages on this book he's doing.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
One
Like he
especially because
showed
the
me a couple
yeah.
little sneak. I've seen the sneak glimpses he's put out, and they're
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, especially with the film coming. I
Yeah.
think the any Fantastic Four things I think will start to like go up for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you said you picked up some art from David Finch.
Hmm.
Have you been continuing to grow your collection? Because it's got to be hard, dude. You're
Yeah.
surrounded by this daily. You're seeing
Yeah.
all these amazing pieces on
Yeah.
there. Do you get a little itchy looking at some of the auctions? Get tempted to maybe pick up some things for yourself from time to time?
I do. And I think the tricky part is just like, yeah, not like knowing like my wife is like, hey,
Yeah.
where the business is young.
She
Don't like
goes,
throw it
"Hey,
around. Yeah.
conflicts,
Yeah.
conflict of interest here, dude."
Exactly. But yeah, so Finch was able to get something from him in person, and then at MegaCon, actually, I got something from Rashta Lynn. She had done a in-person like auction event that they do. I think it's called like Comics Art Experience or something.
Yeah,
And I was able to pick up a pretty big size canvas. It's like behind me in the box. I just have to find a place to
nice.
frame it. But yeah, I try to keep it to a minimum though. No more than one a month. I think is kind of the rule.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good rule.
Yeah. I think the other fun stuff though is like getting gifts, which has been nice. Like,
Yeah,
and by gifts, I just mean like little notes from the community saying thanks. And like one of them was just a letter from an artist who's just said like, thank you so much for the platform. Like it's changed my life. And those, they're not like original pieces of art, but like I cherish them so much
yeah.
as if they were like gold. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I think we're entering a new age of creators kind of taking back that control and doing their own projects and things
Mhm.
and putting out their own creative works. I know, love him or hate him, Rob Liefeld has been like
Mhm.
leading that charge, telling people, hey, make your own stuff, man. Like, look what
Yeah.
I'm doing with this new Youngblood launch. He's all strictly done it through, direct to consumer sales through his whatnot and stuff. And he's
Yeah.
like tracking to be well over I think it was well over. He'll easily hit 1 million. Like
Yeah.
in just in pre-sales, I think he was already over 250 grand because
Wow.
he's like releasing all the numbers to show people, hey, you can do this and be, successful. Of course, he's
Step
Rob
one, be Rob.
Liefeld,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt, but just the promoting the creators going out there and being able to, not be overly dependent on publishers, or in your instance, not having to be always, even though you work with art dealers, and I'm sure those are involved too. This gives the artists also a means to handle their own work and get some sales on stuff that they want to, they don't want to mail off to their art rep or something like that.
Yeah. I think like to your point about like the publishing side, I've heard like two pieces of wisdom from like creators. Like one of them is use Marvel and DC as a way to get distribution and
Yeah,
notoriety, right? It's like getting on the big label, right? Or getting on the big team. But then like use it as a way to fuel sales for your own creator owned IP, right? Because
yeah,
that's truly what you can own and you can make higher margins on that. And then the other piece of advice I heard was like, as much as like digital is making things easier, like digital, like, and then like, you know, yeah, just purely digital art, right? Using like things like Wattpad or whatever. Wait, no, that's the story one. Anyway, I'm losing my point.
welcome.
Effectively, though, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Wacom,
yeah,
thank you. Um, that going physical, like original, traditional art allows the artist to like better monetize their work, right? So I was talking with one artist who said like, yeah, I do these amazing covers, but I know my monoprint will not sell as much if I like had the raw pencils or even
yeah,
like the pencils and inks, right? Like that could actually pay my mortgage if I just like have one of those, right? And so I think there's a value of like, Artgerm had kind of talked about this too. He's like, get good at both, right?
yes,
Because when you make it, then you can say, great, I can also sell like a commission or a sketch cover or whatever, rough sketch, and kind of make a little bit extra that way. And so I think my whole point there is like, you just gotta know what you're getting into and find ways to pay the bills. Yeah.
yeah. I think my recommendation, and I know it's been a couple of artists I've had on here have made this recommendation for people if they are going to use digital tools to aid in, creating their works. You do what Dan Fraga calls tradigital.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah. Yeah.
does
Exactly. Yeah.
his layouts and stuff, and then he prints it out in blue line.
Mm-hmm.
He does his finished
Right.
pencils, and he'll either ink it or have somebody ink it.
Yeah.
You get all the benefits of being able to use the digital tools, but then you actually have a physical
Exactly.
original to sell. And I know Ryan Otley does that. Ryan Stegman, all the
Mm-hmm.
Ryans do it. A lot of the artists nowadays are all actually on their iPad Pro in Procreate, and they're
Yeah.
and they're doing their layouts. They're doing a lot of their stuff there, and then they have a large format printer like I have sitting over
Mm-hmm.
here, and they just print straight on the board the blue line and finish it up. So
Yeah.
that's been the advice a lot of the artists have had, because yeah, if you're 100% digital, there's people aren't as down to buy just a print. They want,
Right.
most collectors are wanting to try to get an original page, especially
Yeah.
if they're dropping a significant amount of money on it. They want
Yeah.
something that has actually touched the artist's hands.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the monoprint idea is neat, right? High quality print, like all that kind of stuff. But to your point, like there's always going to be a premium on like an
Yeah.
original Jim Lee versus like the best print made by Jim
Yeah.
Lee. It's like, yeah, well, but one of these is different.
I
You know?
feel like monoprint is like a step above an NFT.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have the only one, but this one is actually physical. You can touch it.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah, and I think it's all solved to your point of like, go traditional or go entirely whatever it may be. But also like I talking with some artists of like the page deadlines are brutal and you got to
Yes.
get creative. And so I get all of it. I think it's you in the end, like you do what's right for your business, right? And your business is your career.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, in any artist you're seeing, I mean, doing, like Dan Mora is a great
Hmm.
example. Dude's got like 4 or 5 covers coming out this week or something like,
Yeah, like how are you gonna do this?
and he's 100% digital and
Yeah.
goes in there and obviously is able to, because let's preface this, digital is just a tool. He's
Mhm.
still drawing it.
Yeah.
It just allows to make quicker changes, manipulations of the artwork. I can change the proportion of an arm really quick. If I flip the drawing and see that it's wrong, I'm like, oh, fix it real quick. Boom,
Yep.
scale, distort. All right, looks good. Now I go in here. It allows to be able to do that more rapidly than you would be able to do if you were on a physical board. But you very much have to have the skills there. But
Yeah.
that rapid nature and in the ability to utilize and leverage the tools does allow for a greater workload, I believe,
Yeah.
because there's a reason like Jorge Jimenez, Dan
Hmm.
Mora, Pepe Larraz, like most of them are all 100% digital, and they're the ones like putting out these crazy workloads, which
Yeah.
we just don't see that from a lot of artists nowadays who are 100% traditional. That's always been kind of the killer of the traditional artists, is the fact that you can only do so much work. Like if you're doing a page a day, you're doing great. And some of these
Yeah.
digital guys are doing like 3 or 4 pages a day.
Yeah. And then once the tool is available, it changes the game and the expectation, right? And so I think I was talking to some folks that, one of the big publishers is saying, you need like about a 5 week turnaround,
Yeah.
right? So you're like, okay, 5 week turnaround, 22 page book. I have to like let's not knock the, like, every artist is effectively cinematographer, fashion designer, head of lighting, like every single job you see in a film, right? Like the artist has to get that out
Yep.
there, right? And so then you're like, okay, now we want to do 5 books with you, but all with a 5 week turnaround. It's like, it's the pressure of the industry that defines what tools are being used, right? If they all had the time, they were all paid well to like take their time,
Yeah.
sure, you get bangers all the time, right?
Yeah.
In traditional, but the reality is like there's a very high expectation, so yeah, they have to adapt, and it totally makes sense, and I think it's still like you said, you still have to be a master of the craft. Like we just auctioned off a first spot auction for Pepe Larraz for like Como, partnering with the Como team, and it's like
It's
people
amazing.
are so excited,
Yeah.
right? So
They're
it's
like,
like,
oh,
yeah,
he can do it traditional
he
too.
it's like no doubt, right?
Yeah.
He probably
And
had to do it traditional to the right, and
And Jimenez is the same way.
yeah,
I see him doing commissions at conventions. Clayton
exactly,
Clayton
right,
Harris is another
yeah,
100% digital for like
yeah,
the monthly work he puts out, but he'll do, it looks the same. He can do it. He's
yeah.
not using a magic click a button and it makes the drawing. I mean,
Well, and it's wild too, because like, talking with some folks who are less familiar, but like wanted to learn more about the business, and they saw some of these art germ pieces that he did for our Trober, and they were like, "This is digital, right?" And I was like, "No,
yeah,
that is him drawing it." And they were like, "That's crazy." And I think to all the people that we just said, right, Jorge Jimenez, Dan
yeah,
Mora, right, you have to actually step one, be a master of your work too. One, then two, it's like, okay, now use the tools you need to handle the number of clients you have,
yeah,
right? And so like Archer, the whole list goes on and on and on. It's like they're all fantastic. It's just, they got to go digital for interior sometimes because they got to get the page rates to
yeah,
hit the deadline. But then when you get a chance to get that original, right? And I think Green Comic Art, I think is Pepe Larraz's dealer. Check them out. They sell like gangbusters,
yeah.
right? Because like now you're like, oh, I get one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and my listeners will get tired of hearing this expression because it's come up a lot lately, but it's one of my absolute favorites when it comes to art, and you can apply it to a lot of different things in life. It's you have to master the ordinary before you
Yes.
can command the extraordinary. So
Yep.
all of these guys are masters at their craft,
Yep.
and that's why they can leverage the digital tools to help them in
Exactly.
their production. I heard
Yep.
a silly comparison from an artist. I'm not familiar with his work as not a comic book artist, but he basically said like, I'm paraphrasing. He basically said like, if you're against AI but you use Photoshop or digital tools, your argument is invalid or whatever. Like, yeah, but Photoshop and digital tools don't magically
Yeah.
draw the art. Like
Yeah.
the comparison to AI, using Photoshop to draw or Clip Studio or Procreate is very different
Yeah.
than typing in, I want a picture of a superhero on top of a building crouching down,
Yeah.
click. All right, make me 5,000 variations of it. I'll pick the one I like. Like, very different
Yeah.
ball game.
Yeah. I think the like where is the genesis of creation was a word that an advisor and a friend had used, is like the genesis of creation and the act of making should be on the human, right? And the human making the thing. So like to and I think the argument is like, oh well, like I created the prompt though. And it's like, no, but like the act of actually turning that into
Yeah.
the object is another individual, right? A human being in the loop, right? Archerm had used an expression like, my editors, like he's like, I have prompt engineers. They're called my editors, right? Like, but like they never would say like, oh, they drew an Archerm. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I drew it like after working with them, but like to claim then that like, oh, I'm an exceptional AI artist because I like prompted a robot.
Yeah.
It's like that's ridiculous.
It's
And
like the Thor with Bruce Banner. Did
yeah,
you really know?
yeah.
Like,
Or like even some of this like I'm personally just frustrated with like the Studio Ghibli stuff.
yeah, definitely.
Because it's like the antithesis of everything he believes. But
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
when AI was first, being talked about way back, and they asked him what he
Yeah.
thought of it. And there's that quote where he's like, basically paraphrasing this, like an abomination
Yeah.
against all things creativity and
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah.
And I think if you're a fan of the work, like know the artist and like know that like this is the opposite of everything that he believes in, right? Like, Princess Mononoke is a perfect example, right? Like industrialization happens and like nature takes over, right? He's pretty
Right.
clear with his opinion about like nature versus industrialization. And I think there are many benefits that we've had from industrialization, but like to ask a generative AI tool to like do that, I've really struggled with folks doing it, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's why like my photo is just regular old me,
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So as we start to taper down here to
yeah,
the end of the podcast, I wanted to ask you, what are some things on the horizon for Nerdcrawler right now? What is
yeah.
the you have some more con live streams coming up? You got anything in the works that you're willing to share?
Mm-hmm. It's looking like we'll go to San Diego, Baltimore, and Heroes in New York. I think at least are like the next like big four.
Nice.
Um, yeah, looking forward to all of those. I've never been to Heroes or Baltimore, so I think those will be. I've only heard really great things. And then on the like features and product side, um, I'll say like we continue to want to build a great native app like for iOS and Android. It's just taking a little bit. It's just harder, right? Because like I'm the only
Yeah.
engineer right now, and
Apple
so yeah,
doesn't always make it very
no,
easy to
no,
work with them, as far as some of from what I understand with apps and things, it can be pretty
yeah,
difficult to
it's
do
challenging.
all the things that you would like to do.
Yeah, and it's also like a different language. So I think I'm looking forward to things like growing the team, getting some help finally to not be the only person, like full time at least. Though I have like advisors and contractors who have helped, but like having more full time help will be really great. But I would say like continuing to just launch native apps, making the site look better. There's more. I can't say anything yet, but what I can say is, we know that the UX and user experience of the site can just be better, and we're looking forward to just like releasing some stuff to make that a lot better. And then, yeah, I'll leave it there. I'd say like the big two are like,
Nice.
how do we just make this product look as amazing and prestigious as the art that we're selling, and also how do we make an iOS and Android app, because like that's really where people are at now, and we want to meet all of our customers where they are and make it as easy as possible for them.
Very cool. Well, the
Yeah.
last thing I want to ask you before I give you the spotlight to let everybody know where to find you, um, who's your favorite comic book character, man?
Oh, a big
Can you narrow
clue.
it? Can you narrow it down? I see some
uh,
stuff behind you.
yeah. So I'd say like as a pair, I've always been a Gambit and Rogue person, but as a single character, I would go Gambit. The reason is like just grew up with that X-Men 92,
Yeah.
and I saw Gambit as a character, and for better or worse, I think like my inspiration for love is like Gambit and Rogue, of like two people who make immense sacrifices to be with each other, whether it's, no physical touch or
Yeah.
emotional trauma or whatever it may
Yeah,
be.
it's pretty deep, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Like love transcends all that. And I think I just early on latched onto that as inspiration. And yeah, I just continue to back them as a team. And I'm looking forward to that big clue that they dropped in X-Men 97 season 1, that Apocalypse shows up. Though, I mean, it's very old comics. I don't feel like this is a spoiler.
Yeah.
Uh, I hope they handle his version of where he will be going differently, because they didn't necessarily like the power set that he got
Right.
when he was transformed. Yeah,
Yeah.
is what I'll say.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
know we're getting Gambit in Avengers Doomsday,
I know.
so
Oh,
that's
that.
cool.
Not
And
to
our
go
and
on.
our original, a
Yeah,
lot of our original X-Men.
yeah. Not to get too long-winded there, but I have been cheering for Channing Tatum to be Gambit for such a long time,
Yeah, you and me
and
both, man.
yeah. And when he finally, like, unfortunately, with two young kids, I couldn't watch Deadpool and Wolverine when it came out, but I had
Yeah.
like seen the spoiler like the Tuesday after, and I was like, oh my god, this is really happening. And I know they hammed it up, like they intentionally hammed it up because he's supposed to be like a comedic,
Oh
foil
yeah.
in the group. I'm really curious to see like how they'll handle him in Doomsday, and then what comes after. I don't necessarily think we're gonna get Channing Tatum forever. I
Yeah.
feel like they're gonna hard reset everything, and then I'm really curious to see who are the X Men they're gonna pick when they officially launch the MCU X Men. Who are the actors gonna be? How young they will be, because they went like a long amount of runway.
Yeah, they
So
really
it'll all
did.
be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you as somebody that was there like opening day
Yeah.
that one, I didn't get anything spoiled for me. Somehow
Nice.
magically, I dodged all the spoilers. And for me, when Blade walked
Yeah.
out, I was like, I did not know I needed that. I did
Yeah.
not
That
know I
was
needed
wild.
Wesley Snipes' Blade in the MCU
Oh.
until he came out and I lost it. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow. And
Yeah.
then Gambit comes out. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Oh
dude.
my god. I want to like rewatch it. Yeah.
They're actually doing this. And the crowd just went nuts in the theater, packed theater.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Such a
That
cool experience.
I haven't had that feeling. So now that I live in Northern California, like in the suburbs, it's just a
Yeah.
different vibe. But when I was in Oakland and I went to watch Endgame, and when Steve Rogers says Avengers Assemble, it just went nuts.
Yeah.
Like I watched it opening night, and it was extraordinary. And I bottle that feeling up, and whenever I need like a pick me up, I'll like go on
Oh
YouTube and I'll
yeah.
just rewatch that
When
because it's
he
just extraordinary.
when Cap, the other biggest theater pop that I've ever
Yeah.
been present for on an opening day viewing was when Cap summoned the hammer
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
just everybody freaked
Yeah.
out.
Oh God, that
Those
was
those
peak film.
Marvel movie experiences,
Yeah.
it's something special. When they get it right, they get it
Yeah.
right.
And they hope they recapture it. I think if we're being honest, there has been some choppy waters,
Yeah.
but I think it comes back to the like narratively, like it comes back to what we said, like just listen, get back to that root, that essence,
Yes.
right? Like listen to your customers and like understand what they want. And I know that they have literally millions of customers and executive producers telling them what to do. But I think where Avengers Endgame got so much right was they were like, let's listen to the right people. Who are we doing
Yep.
this for, right? And I think maybe some of the more modern things that they did, especially during that like pandemic era, was like, let's just capture as much money as we can. So we'll release a lot of shows,
Right.
and it dilutes the brand, and the stories aren't as strong.
Yeah, it
So
really did. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, listen, man.
Yeah,
First off, thank you so much for coming back.
of course.
Happy
Anytime.
to have you. Second of many, I hope.
Yeah.
And I want to give you the spotlight now and let everybody know where to find you.
Yeah.
where to find Nerdcrawler, where to find you on social media, how to get a hold of you, all that pertinent info. Take it
Cool.
away.
Yeah. So Nerdcrawler is at nerdcrawler.com. Our most active social channel is Instagram because again, like I'm spread pretty thin, but yeah, you can instagram.com/nerdcrawler.dot.com. Yeah, that's usually where we're posting a lot of stuff. A lot of the artists that we work with tag us as collaborators, so you can see a lot of work from amazing people that are up for auction or for sale. If you have questions for me, it's Chris, CHRIS, at nerdcrawler.com. I try to respond back as quickly as I can. And if you see us around at a convention, I will be in one of these, black Nerdcrawler t-shirts. So please say hi. It's always fun to see both artists, reps, fans, whoever, just being able to talk to you guys in person. I think there's something really magical about that stuff and hanging out live. And so ideally, depending on which shows we do, I'll probably organize like a happy hour at some of these so that we can get like artists and fans in one place and like just have a nice drink. So that's where we're at.
Very cool. Well, thank you again, Chris. Hang out with me for a moment here while I give my spiel. Everybody, if you're listening, you know where to find the podcast. I would ask that you like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff, just because it helps get the podcast seen a little bit more, let people know it exists. If you want to do a review over on Apple Podcast or anywhere else, that'd be greatly appreciated. We've got a lot of amazing people coming on the show here coming up, so make sure you set your notifications, click the little bell, all that good stuff. And I always recommend checking out the YouTube version because most of the time people have awesome stuff behind them, just like Chris does right now with his artwork and his expensive Rogue and Gambit statue I'm spotting over his shoulder. So make sure you check us out on youtube.com/@nerdymusings. It's NERDYMEWZINGS. In the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.